This is commentary on Lesson 134 in the Workbook for A Course in Miracles. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Again, we remember that our goal is to begin to perceive the real world, which is a world that reflects only love back to us. And that the way that we're doing that is that when we see uh, sin in someone else or ourselves, and again in the Course, sin means a lack of love. That's what we think the separation was. We think we created a world and bodies and a whole set of individuals and ourselves that exist without love. And so the way that we will experience only love is that when we see that lack, instead of wanting that lack to be punished and to experience the guilt that's in that lack, we learn to supply that lack through forgiveness. Then we will learn that the only thing that there is love, because that's what will be in our experience. And that what we're learning in this lesson is that we will learn how to free ourselves when we learn how to free others. When we want for them what we really want for ourselves, that's how we will have it, and we will free them through forgiveness. So let's go through this and see what it's saying about forgiveness. Let us review the meaning of forgive, for it is apt to be distorted and to be perceived as something that entails an unfair sacrifice of righteous wrath, a gift unjustified and undeserved, a complete denial of the truth. In such a view, forgiveness must be seen as mere eccentric folly, and this course appear to rest salvation on a whim. This twisted view of what forgiveness means is easily corrected when you accept the fact that pardon is not asked for what is true. It must be limited what is false. It is irrelevant to everything except illusions. Truth is God's creation, and to pardon that is meaningless. In other words, God's creation is love. That's all that there is. That's what exists, and that's not what we need to pardon. All truth belongs to Him All truth belongs to Him, reflects His laws, and radiates His love. Does this need pardon? How can you forgive the sinless and the eternally benign? The major difficulty that you find in genuine forgiveness on your part is that you still believe you must forgive the truth and not illusions. You conceive of pardon as a vain attempt to look past what is there, to overlook the truth, and an unfounded effort to deceive yourself by making illusion true. This twisted viewpoint but reflects the hold the idea of sin retains as yet upon your mind as you regard yourself. Because you think your sins are real, you look on pardon as deception. For it is impossible to think of sin as true, in other words, a lack of love as true, and not believe forgiveness is a lie. Thus is forgiveness really but a sin, like all the rest. It says the truth is false, and smiles on the corrupt as if they were as blameless as the grass, as white as snow. It is delusional in what it thinks it can accomplish. It would see as right the plainly wrong, the loathsome as the good. Pardon is no escape in such a view. It merely is a further sign that sin is unforgivable, at best to be concealed, denied, or called another name, for pardon is a treachery to truth. Guilt cannot be forgiven. If you sin, your guilt is everlasting. Those who are forgiven from the view their sins are real are pitifully mocked twice and twice condemned, first by themselves for what they think they did, and once again by those who pardon them. It is sin's unreality that makes forgiveness natural and wholly sane, a deep relief to those who offer it, a quiet blessing where it is received. It does not countenance illusions, but collects them lightly with a little laugh and gently lays them at the feet of truth, and there they disappear entirely. Forgiveness is the only thing that stands for truth in the illusions of the world. It sees their nothingness and looks straight through the thousand forms in which they may appear. It looks on lies, but it is not deceived. It does not heed the self-accusing shrieks of sinners mad with guilt. It looks at them with quiet eyes and merely says to them, "My brother, what you think is not the truth." The strength of pardon is its honesty, which is so uncorrupted that it sees illusions as illusions, not as truth. It is because of this that it becomes the undeceiver in face of lies, the great restorer of the simple truth. By its ability to overlook what is not there, it opens up the way to truth, which has been blocked by dreams of guilt. Now are you free to follow in the way your true forgiveness opens up to you. For if one brother has received this gift of you, the door is open to yourself. There is a very simple way to find the door to true forgiveness and perceive it open wide and welcome. When you feel that you are tempted to accuse someone of sin in any form, do not allow your mind to dwell on what you think he did, for that is self-deception. Ask instead, would I accuse myself of doing this? Now, I once had a course student call me up trying to understand this lesson, and when she asked this question, would I accuse myself of doing this? She said, yeah, of course I would. And so you have to read the question as the would as, would I want to accuse myself of doing this? In other words, if when you look at what you see as their lack of love or their sin, you want to ask yourself, would I want that to be true for myself? Not whether you think it is true or not, but would you want it to be true for yourself? Thus, will you see alternatives for choice in terms that render choosing meaningful, and keep your mind as free of guilt and pain as God Himself intended it to be, and as it is in truth. It is but lies that would condemn. In truth is innocence the only thing there is. Forgiveness stands between illusions and the truth, between the world you see and that which lies beyond, between the hell of guilt and heaven's gate. Across this bridge, as powerful as love, which laid its blessing on it, are all dreams of evil and of hatred and attack brought silently to the truth. They are not kept to swell and bluster and to terrify the foolish dreamer who believes in them. He has been gently wakened from this dream by understanding what he thought he saw was never there. And so when we see that lack and we forgive that lack, then our experience is love, and then there is no lack. We've proved to ourselves that what we thought was gone is there because we practiced that. We practiced that forgiveness. And now he cannot feel that all escape has been denied to him. He does not have to fight to save himself. He does not have to kill the dragons which he thought pursued him, nor need he erect the heavy walls of stone and iron doors he thought would make him safe. He can remove the ponderous and useless armor made to chain his mind to fear and misery. His step is light as he lifts his foot to stride ahead. A star is left behind to point the way to those who follow him. Forgiveness must be practiced, for the world cannot perceive its meaning, nor provide a guide to teach you its beneficence. There is no thought in all the world that leads to any understanding of the laws it follows, nor the thought that it reflects. Now, the thought that forgiveness reflects is the thought that God had of us, His one holy child, the Christ within us, that Spirit. That's the thought that forgiveness reflects. It is as alien to the world as is your own reality, and yet it joins your mind with the reality in you. Today we practice true forgiveness, that the time of joining be no more delayed, for we would meet with our reality in freedom and in peace. Our practicing becomes the footsteps lighting up the way for all our brothers who will follow us to the reality we share with them. It's a very nice image there, by the way. He did mentioned it previous in this lesson that when we forgive, there's a star that's left. There's a light that's left. That's a light for the world to follow. So by our acts of forgiveness that are in our minds, that are in the universal mind, those acts of love will be a light that's there. And for everyone who comes and follows us, they'll be able to learn forgiveness because we did. There's a light that we leave in the mind, in reality, that's there for everybody. That this may be accomplished, let us give a quarter of an hour twice today and spend it with a guide who understands the meaning of forgiveness and was sent to us to teach it. Let us ask of him. So this is the beginning of the practice. So we start with, let us ask of him, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. So this is a lot of the lessons we're turning to our teacher and saying, okay, well, teach me what this is. I don't understand this. I want to learn what this is. And so we turn to God and say that. Let me perceive forgiveness as it is. And then choose one brother as he will direct and catalog his quote unquote sins as one by one they cross your mind. Be certain not to dwell on any one of them, but realize that you're using his quote unquote offenses, but to save the world from all ideas of sin. Briefly consider all the evil things you thought of him, and each time ask yourself, would I condemn myself for doing this? Do I want this to be true for me? And then let him be freed from all the thoughts you had of him in sin. And now you are prepared for freedom. And if you've been practicing thus far in willingness and honesty, you will begin to sense a lifting up, a lightening of the weight across your chest, a deep and certain feeling of relief. The time remaining should be given to experiencing the escape from all the heavy chains you sought to lay upon your brother, but were laid upon yourself. All right, so those are the two longer practice periods, each for 15 minutes a day. And we just take someone, we look at the way we see them now, the things that we see that they did wrong, the punishment that we think that they should have, the guilt that we think that they should have, and we ask ourselves if we would want this to be true of ourselves. And then we let forgiveness relieve them of that and relieve us for that. So those are the longer practice periods. And then this goes on for our practice throughout the day. Forgiveness should be practiced through the day, for there will still be many times when you forget its meaning and attack yourself. When this occurs, allow your mind to see through this illusion as you tell yourself, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Would I accuse myself of doing this? I will not lay this chain upon myself. In everything you do, remember this: no one is crucified alone, and yet no one can enter heaven by himself. Okay, that's it for today. Practice well.